So recently, my days at work have been very different. You see, my manager has been on Pinterest. So instead of being under sinks with spiders repairing plumbing or mending fences, I've been given the task of making a spooky tree that he's seen on Pinterest. Now, as you can probably guess, I love it when this happens. If somebody wants to pay me to have fun, I will embrace this opportunity and try new things to grow from the experience. Now, the one in the picture was made from cardboard, but we're going to be using wood. We don't want it to get all soggy and start to flop over into a mess. So what we've done is we've got some gravel board. They work out at about £5 a plank, and we're using 10 planks. So we're on about £50 so far. And what I'm going to do is cut it up the middle. Well, at least I try to cut it up the middle. I got a set square and put it on both sides and made a cross in the middle. And when I cut it, it was a 7.3 and 7.7 on the other side. I don't know what happened there, but for this, it really doesn't matter, so I just carried on sawing them in half, kind of. So gravel board does not look the nicest, it's a bit rough, but it's weather resistant and we're not going to see at the end, so this is what we're using. So my manager got me this metal band and these oversized screws here. They were definitely overkill. And then I set to work at joining all the planks together. Now I'm going to blur out the logo on my top. I am at work. I'm guessing it's probably against the social media rules, and also I don't want any of you gorgeous people stalking me. Now this isn't the ideal way to shoot. I don't like talking to the camera when I'm at work, it's a bit embarrassing, and I'm getting through things a bit quicker. So if you like the style of this video, let me know and I'll continue to try to make them at work. If not, I'll stick to more structured content. So this is the top of the tree. I want it to be tall at the back and lower at the front. So I drew these wiggly lines on and I used a jigsaw to cut it out. And the overly large screws I had were hanging out the back, so I sanded them all down. I then spent a long time struggling to get the wood into place and put it into circle. It was particularly heavy and not very easy to grip as it all wanted to flop about. Unfortunately for you, I didn't record this bit because I didn't have time to waste at work. But I did feel it was important to roll it up and get it in place, because when I draw the features on, I want to make sure they're going in the right place and that they're not too wide or too narrow for the face. I also feel it's important to mention that I did go and look at references for jack-o'-lantern faces. Whenever you're doing a design, unless you're really confident with it, it's always worth a reference. It will always improve your work. Now I went ahead and cut it out with a drill and a jigsaw, and then I needed more banding inside the face to make sure the planks didn't just fall out where there was nothing attached to them. I don't know why I didn't foresee this happening. Now on my day off, one of my colleagues kindly painted it brown for me. I'm not sure how necessary that was, but once it dried, we filled the holes with expanding foam, and then I started to decorate it with even more expanding foam. This is to get the texture out. This was the bit I was really looking forward to, because this is where I can add character and show some creativity in the design. It's also the first time I've used expanding foam creatively, so it was a great new experience to learn at work. And I found some logs on site, so I got some chunky screws and attached them through sideways. Now I'm going to fill in the bit at the front here with expanding foam so it blends it in a bit more and it looks far less weird. This will make sure it's got a nice strong support. After that, I went and bothered the blacksmith and managed to get some scraps of metal off him. What I'm going to do is drill through a twig here and drill through the end of a log. Then I'm going to slide it all together and put it into place. Now I wanted it to have a bit of an angle, so I'm just going to bend the rod here and it all fits together just like this. I used some 2-part super glue to make sure it was a strong connection. This is a really exciting bit because it's where it starts to take shape. Now I carried on filling in with expanding foam. I used 2 different colours, it's just because I ran out of one set of tins. I ended up using 5 tins of expanding foam for the whole tree, and I blended the arms in and I did some more details around the face. I say this for me was the most fun and exciting bit of the project, and you could really feel the character coming out and it really starting to take shape. Now the expanding foam tins were £10 each, so we spent £50 in total for the foam. In case you're wondering, it took about 2 hours to completely cover this guy in foam. So now it's time for the part I have been dreading. the painting of the expanding foam. This is really deep and textured, and the paintbrush takes ages to get into the gaps. So I came up with a different method. Luckily, we had this lying around. I hadn't used it before, but decided to give it a go. Now, I was surprised at how well this could deal with thick paint, and it sprayed into all the gaps and all the spaces. Now, if you're wondering why there are patches I'm filling in here, it's because I painted it with the sprayer, left it outside, and it rained. It took off all the large parts or gloopy parts of paint, so I'm just respraying them inside. Now, I think this would have taken in excess of 4 hours to paint by hand, and it only took 30 minutes to spray. So it was a huge time saver, although it was a pain to clean out afterwards, but well worth the effort. Now, he didn't quite fit inside by 3 centimeters, so we've given him a bit of a haircut and taken the top of his head off. So it's time to bring out the details. In case you're not familiar with this is a dry brush technique we're going to use. We just spread as much paint off of the paintbrush as possible so you barely have any on there. And then when you paint over your textured area, it'll only take the highlights. After the first coat, it looked pretty terrible, like mouldy. But not to worry, because we're going to keep putting more and more layers on, and giving it more colours will make it look more organic. Also, using warmer orange colours, particularly around the eyes and where skin's usually thin on a person, will bring it more to life. Now, I know at the moment he looks a bit like a drag queen with too much makeup on. It's just because the paint is still wet. Once this is dried, it will go darker with the brown, and it will really blend in, hopefully. There he is. So it's all dry now, it's a bit darker, and in the background you can see a tree that has had a few coats on, and where the painting is completely finished. To completely finish him, I've wanted to put some fabric inside and light it up with some really bright lights. Unfortunately, all we had were these fairy-like LEDs that weren't very bright, so I just put a bulb in each eye and we used that instead. We also wanted to use some fake moss. This is off of Amazon, and put it on the base and then just completely cover this so it blends it all in. We were, however, running out of time and we didn't have the right glue to stick it on. So to get it out quickly, my colleague put some AstroTurf on, and my manager wrapped some orange leaves around the arms. So this is it finished. Now, the biggest thing for me that I didn't like about this was the AstroTurf on the base. I definitely would have preferred moss, but I say we were time restricted and we had to get it out. In total, we spent £100 on materials. Everything else we had lying around. I say if you were doing this yourself, you'd probably only need to pay for the paint and moss as extras. Overall though, I think this is a cracking result. It's the first time I've used expanding foam to sculpt, and it's really got the character I was hoping it would have. In the future, if I was to try something like this again, I would look at something I'm not familiar with and try getting some animatronics or movement in it. Now, I do intend to make a website with all the projects on with the materials listed, but this channel is new, it does take a lot of time to do that, so if that does interest you, let me know, and if I think enough people will use it, I will start putting that together. When I have done that, it'll be in the description below. I really hope that if you're watching this is something you'd like to give a go, or it's inspired you to try something similar. And if you do, drop us a link below. I would love to see what you've created. And if you take just one thing away from this video, always remember, don't ask yourself if you can, ask yourself how you can.